Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo, Phan, sitting here with...
Kevin Hord.
Hey, buddy. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Resistance today.
That's right.
We got Dangerous Business, which aired back on January 20th, 2019.
Hooty hoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just catching up. Go ahead.
Typically, we record these on the day they come out. We had some stuff going on that prohibited us from doing that. So we are recording on the 22nd. We're going to get this recorded and edited. Well, I'm not, but Lorenzo is. And then released as soon as possible. So
real quick. Yeah. So, as usual, I will do a quick summary of the episode. And as such, if you have not seen the episode already, spoiler alert, I'm going to just run through the story of the whole thing. Hopefully in about 5 minutes or less. We'll see.
And then I will probably ramble on asking questions for the next 45 minutes.
Right. Basically. We'll try and keep this short. We'll see how it goes. So, to start out the episode, Kaz is fixing the fireball from parts that he got from Flix and Orka. The rest of the team is very impressed by all of this. Kaz received the parts in exchange for watching the shop for a day so that Flix and Orka can go off-world for a little bit. The only rule that he kind of gets from Flix and Orka is that to not sell anything from the back room. Pretty quickly, as soon as they leave, a dude named Taraj Key comes on in to pick up an ordered phase connector, as he claims. Kaz looks up on the datapad. There is indeed a phase connector in the shop, but it is not for sale because it's contained in the back room. Taraj places another large order from Kaz and wants it delivered, even though he's like right there. Kaz, however, with the big order, wants to impress Flix and Orka that he got like a big delivery and a lot of money coming in. So he makes the delivery, and as he goes, Taraj locks Kaz in a storage locker on, Dock 23 or something like that. Let's see. So while Kaz is stuck in the storage locker, Taraj breaks into the store where BB-8 was left behind to hang out and proceeds to try and steal the phase connector. BB-8 has a fight with him, tries to do what he can, shocks him a few times, but Taraj ends up trapping him under a bunch of shelves of equipment and stuff like that.
BB-8 does a pretty good job defending a place that he has no obligation to whatsoever.
Yeah, no full stake in or whatever, but yeah, very good of him. Let's see. Kaz does escape the locker right as it's about to get dropped into the sea below, and goes off and chases after Taraj, who just happens to be passing by real close by. Taraj does not spot Kaz at all, but Kaz follows Taraj onto a ship. As Kaz is wandering around the ship, there are some stormtroopers aboard, and Taraj is clearly working with them. Bitey, the what's the little creature called?
Korg.
I forgot what. The Korg, yes. So the pet Korg that is kept at the acquisition shop was hiding in the phase connector that Taraj stole.
Is that how he got there?
Yeah,
okay.
Like he pops out underneath when Kaz walks up to the phase connector, and then Bitey appears from underneath the phase connector. Taraj and stormtroopers go off somewhere, and Kaz is about to try and recover this phase connector, but then the ship starts taking off, and Kaz is figuring that he needs to maybe try and bring the ship down so that he can at least stay on the Colossus and make his way back to the Colossus. He kind of tricks Bitey. He's called Bitey because he likes to bite fingers. Kaz baits him to eat up a control panel and takes out the electrical system of the ship. Things start going nuts. Taraj and stormtroopers start freaking out. They see Bitey. They start shooting at Bitey, which kind of just makes things worse, interestingly enough. Let's see. Kaz still tries to get to the phase connector while the ship is going down, but then Taraj gets there. And so Kaz just kind of moves on because the ship is going down. Kaz gets an escape pod, loses Bitey in the process. Kaz takes off in the escape pod, and Bitey just happens to be on the outside of the pod.
However that works.
Yeah, however that worked. Easy as that. Taraj and a couple stormtroopers also make their way to escape pods. As Taraj is leaving the big ship that is leaving, he gets a call from Commander Pyre, and Taraj fills him in that they lost the phase connector. Commander Pyre tells him that Phasma will not be pleased. Kaz returns to the shop and realizes that it's a mess because he did not receive word from BB-8 that he was in a major fight, I guess.
The shop being the acquisition shop, not Yeager's shop.
Not Yeager's shop, yeah. Flix and Orka return pretty much right at the same moment. See that the shop is in shambles, basically. They aren't mad, however. They're just impressed that Kaz decided to take down a ship completely rather than let Taraj steal without paying for their product. They also bring up that they have dealt with Taraj over the years and that he has always tried to get various product from them that they don't want to sell him.
Yeah, Kaz is like, some dude came in, tried to buy this thing, and I told him no, and then he proceeded to trick me and steal it, and Orka says, oh yeah, is it a guy named Taraj Key? Is he pretending to be with a mining guild? And then they're both like, that dickbag's been trying to screw us over forever, so good on you for teaching him a lesson.
Right. Kaz does then ask what phase connectors are used for at all. Mm-hmm. And they are used for cracking open asteroids and for drilling or excavating. Mm-hmm. So big holes you want to dig or whatever, phase connectors is what you're looking for. Kaz is about to leave the shop, and Orka and Flix basically say, like, well, we'll see you tomorrow morning because, you know, you let a guy get away with our shit without stealing. So you lost it, you pay for it. And he agrees and accepts this. But as he leaves, Kaz has a little aside with BB-8 and talks about how he will inform Poe and General Organa that the stormtroopers were after a phase connector. And he surmises that it's possibly needed to mine more Deadlanite or potentially something else. And from there, we cue fanfare.
Right before we cue fanfare,
mm-hmm.
Kaz says, I think this is bad.
Yeah.
So for my first question,
yep,
I'm going to start all the way at the end. Should he have just said, I've got a bad feeling about this?
I don't know. Like, I think in order, like, with the way this show is working, for me, like, the spirit of I've got a bad feeling about this is then followed up by why bad feeling was perhaps well-founded.
Okay.
Right? To end an episode on that, you know, and I don't... It's not a rule, of course, by any means. Like, it just the fact that that phrase is used, I think, is, like, the thing itself. But, like, I think in spirit of it, like, we need, like action response, right? Rather than just like, hey, here's our cliffhanger. I got a bad feeling about this. But who knows when we get back to this.
Okay.
You know.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. That's how I feel about that. But anyways, where else do you want to start with this episode?
So for one day's work, and not even like a full day's work, because I guess it's early in the morning and we don't really know when Flix and Okra come back, right? It's in the evening. Okay, two things. One, they were Flix and Orka.
Orka.
Not
not the plant.
whale, not the plant.
Yeah. Yep.
Were able to leave planet, visit Flix's mom.
Yep.
And come back all in a day.
Yep.
This is one of those things where how long does hyperspace travel work? And or I guess this planet could have been close by.
Could have been close by,
She might not have even been off planet. She could be like somewhere.
I think one of them, and I forget who, one of them mentions
being off
when
planet.
they see yeah. When the shop is in mess, they're like, we were off world for one day and we come back to this.
That was Flix.
Something like that, yeah.
Yep. But anyway, so for 1 day's labor, Kaz gets all these parts. Does that include this, whatever the engine is, the GX engine?
GX7 or something like that? Is that what they said?
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm assuming it does.
So, not only for, I mean, that's some pretty damn good pay. Like, he should just go work for them.
Yeah, I think, but part of it, too, is, like, it's all salvaged goods, though. So, who knows what the quality of all of this is, maybe?
So, here's what he installed in the early morning. A new GX engine, repulsor lifts, injectors, and he installs some sort of coupler like as Yeager and the crew are walking up, which he does install the coupler backwards, whatever. That doesn't seem to bother anybody. Tam says something about it, but obviously she's going to fix it. She's probably going to check everything else that mechanically he did. We must have had some time pass because even in recent episodes, Kaz has been a completely incompetent workforce as far as it comes to anything mechanical. And he just did it quite a bit of work. I am personally not a mechanic, but I am our mechanic at work. So I do things like fuel injectors, and if trucks had repulsor lifts, I would do those, and couplers, and
Right.
I won't pull an engine. Not gonna do that.
Right.
But if somebody can tell me what's wrong with the truck, one, I'll know it for next time that problem comes up, and then two, eventually I'll be able to fix it, even if it takes me a while. But to be able to do all this stuff before everybody gets up in the morning is ridiculously skillful.
Right. Yeah, I don't think a lot of time has passed per se, but I think we're just not seeing a lot in between episodes, maybe, right?
Okay.
And I think, we've discussed this before. The progression of Kaz is odd to me because he has pilot experience. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe he wasn't the best mechanic, but he had, like, a sense of his way around various ships. But the beginning of the show instead shows us that he has no idea.
Yeah, he's like a human Jar Jar.
Right.
When it's convenient. And I think this is kind of where we expected him to be from the beginning.
Yeah, basically.
So,
like, not perfect. Like, yeah, he puts a thing in backwards, and Tam makes the note, but she's still appreciative, which I appreciated. But, yeah, like, just competent enough to just work on this and not fuck too much shit up, So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know if this episode could have been slid, like, I don't know. I was going to make the suggestion to, like, bump this up earlier in the season, but then some of the earlier episodes rely upon the fact that that Kaz is kind of a bumbling idiot.
Right. And it would be too much too soon to get to even this point, which is sad.
Well, not only that, but you wouldn't be able to backtrack. So you couldn't move this before something that depended on Kaz being incompetent, right?
Right. Exactly.
So I'll say straight up, I thought it was nice that, like, Kaz isn't the doofus of the episode. Everybody shows up and like, hey, we got to work on the fireball, man. It's early. Let's get going. Kaz's like, no, man, I got it taken care of. Like, I did some damage to this thing. I knew you wanted to take it out and fly this afternoon. So I did the repairs. Like, I volunteered to work for Flix and Orka, and I got the parts, and they're installed. Everything's good to go. So, do a little tune-up, double-check me, and I'm going to be on my way. But I didn't set you guys up for failure. I'm trying to be part of the team here and not only pull my weight, but I'm doing something extra on my own time to earn the parts to help take care of this team.
Right, and what I like about that too, there's another layer of that really should have been here from the beginning of the series, where he is able to work with Yeager, fix that ship, goes off to Flix and Orka, but he's much more subtle too in the middle of things, where when he's making the delivery, he goes off. He kind of has a small aside with BB-8 where he's like, and I'll try and maybe see like what this guy needs all these parts for, and if it's something important, maybe. Right?
Yeah, my note on this was Kaz is going to spy, and he didn't even have to say, I'm going to go be a spy because I'm a spy, right, and I'm going to spy.
He's like, let's just, see if this leads anywhere, and if it doesn't, then, that's how the cookie crumbles. But
BB-8
no
does
harm.
BB-8 does say something to him, and he's like, yeah, BB-8, I think this guy's shady too, but while I deliver these parts, I'm going to check out what's going on, see if I can get some intel.
Right.
Like, he's actually being a spy in this episode.
Like, a good one, too.
And he's doing a pretty damn good job. To rewind just a little bit, we're going to talk about the Flix and Orka stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kaz meets up at the acquisition shop.
Right.
Acquisitions. All right. Flix and Orka are being like super buddy with him, and this is another reason that I kind of feel like there's been a little bit of time between this and the last episode, which was
Bebo.
Mm-hmm. Because like they're super chummy, they seem to have a nice friendly relationship. They obviously trust the guy enough to watch their shop right, for a day. So that's like, some positive progression in their relationship. That's nice. Straight up question, are Flix and Orka a couple?
No, I just think they're really good friends that run that shop together. Despite the fact that they're visiting his mother together. But no, they're Bert and Ernie to me.
So they are.
Right. No. Like, same with Bert and Ernie, like, if you want to read into it, but like, I don't know. I just need more than that,
They're just like
even like with the Beauty and the Beast remake, like I will take that little bit that happened in that movie.
I felt like that was less explicit than like this situation.
One of their mothers.
Right. And then so when they come back, Flix is like, yeah, I look like my mom, but my dad was part Gungan. And Orka's like, your dad's not Gungan. Gungans don't even have feathers. Like, when are you just going to be honest about who your dad is? So they have some.
There's history.
There's definitely history there, and there's something that Flix is not telling Orka about his past.
I don't know. Yeah.
Does he say I do look like my mom or I don't look like my mom? I don't remember. Maybe he says I don't look like my mom, but that's because my dad's part Gungan. But that also implies that, and we've talked about this, I think, more in the Clone Wars, but interspecies reproductivity, I believe, has just been opened up for whatever you want to call it, to be affirmed as true.
Oh, that it's a thing that happens?
It's a thing.
That takes place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And it would make sense with a galaxy that is so interconnected here.
Uh-huh.
Right? Unless they set up actual rules of physiology just not being compatible. Right?
Yeah, and that was...
Which is possible.
Maybe. I mean, that was also covered in a little movie called Solo, a Star Wars story. I mean,
right.
Lando and L337 don't necessarily have compatible ports, but they make it work one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah.
I think L3's answer is similar to "Wouldn't you like to know?" or "It's complicated," or something.
It just
like
works. She says.
Yeah. It just
does.
It does.
It just works.
It's good. So yeah, there's that. So a bird and a Gungan can potentially make a Flix, I guess. But it's at that point that we meet our not so good buddy Taraj Key, and he's not so subtle at all in what he's doing. And Kaz falters here because he totally should have caught on. Like, the dude's just like, I'll take a bunch of those, bunch of those, bunch of those, bunch of those. And I will say, he does not even pay. So, at first I was like, okay, maybe he's got... Yeah. At first I was like, maybe he's got an account. Mm-hmm. But then when we come to the end of the episode, when Flix and Orka are like, oh yeah, that dillweed, like, no. I'm glad you did what you did and took out his entire ship. Like, they wouldn't let him have an account. So I don't know. And they definitely stress before they leave, the customer pays, the customer pays, the customer pays, the customer pays. He doesn't pay shit. And then he's like, yeah, and leave the store and deliver it to me. Right.
Like, that's another big red flag right there.
And he's got a nice little nefarious chuckle, like, wah, do my thing. Like, don't worry about what I'm gonna do while you're gone. We do have a little bit of nice diegetic music when we get to Dock 23, where our buddy Glem, who we have seen before, he's kind of a chubby Rhodian, is working there under Taraj Key for some reason, or he's just like a dock worker. I'm not really sure. But at first, like, you can hear the music and, like, just the way that the beat's going on. I'm like, all right, is this like actual music on the dock? Mm-hmm. And then you see Glem, like, dancing to it, and I was like, all right, I can dig this. I can feel this. I've worked in warehouses before. Like, people want some sort of sound, something going on, even if it's not necessarily like your type of music. You know, sometimes you can just, if it's not too bad, you can just get into it and you can go. And if you are in charge of the radio or MP3 player or whatever is playing music on Docking Bay, it's not Docking Bay, right? Loading Dock 23 is what it is.
Loading dock, yeah. Yeah, it's a loading dock.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was a little bit confused about how Kaz gets out of this shipping container. Like, I totally understand. There's for some reason, well, I guess it's like one of the tools that he takes, because Taraj Key orders like 3 toolkits or something. Mm-hmm. So Kaz is able to MacGyver his way, like, using the stuff that the guy ordered to, like, create a cutting torch to cut the doors open, right? But then we see the shipping container fall, and we see Kaz still in it. But then the thing that he's holding on to afterwards would have been like outside in the middle of the shipping container. Am I right on that?
Yeah, like he would have had to jump somewhere, but the physics and geography of it don't make any sense. So I agree. It's a weird trick on the audience that isn't earned. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I knew something was going to happen. So like when the shipping container falls and you see it fall into the water, at first I was like, oh shit, Kaz is like going to be frozen. Like something's going to happen because they talk about how cold the waters are. And then I was like, well, yeah, that's not going to be it. So he's going to be somewhere. And then he ends up just like hanging from the hook that was holding the thing. So however that happened, I'm not really sure. But I did like the interaction that he had with Glem, where Glem's like,
right,
what are you doing up there? And he goes, what are you doing down there? Glem's like, I'm working. He was like, yeah, well, I'm working up here. So,
like, what do you want from me?
What do you want from me? Glem's like, the people I deal with, or says, he mutters something under his breath like that. It was pretty nice.
Can we discuss how the torch laser works though too?
Yeah, totally.
That was the one thing I didn't understand either. Like, it's a blowtorch that he holds up to like a magnifying glass, and then it focuses it into a laser on the other end, and so he cuts open a hole in the side of a.
He made a makeshift lightsaber, is what he did.
Right, but then wouldn't just putting a blowtorch against a magnifying glass just melt the magnifying glass instead of?
Well, obviously it was just some sort of crystal, not just like a glass lens. So, okay, hang on just a second. Those were laser lenses because Taraj Key says I need 3 of those toolkits, 10 laser lenses, and 1 crate of connecting rods. So that's...
But same question, like when it fire just melt the laser lenses?
No, because that's what the laser lens is designed for. It's designed as a lens for lasers. So it's transferring the energy from this blowtorch type of thing, which maybe is like a plasma weapon, and focusing it to a beam that can be directed in a specific location. So instead of just being like, what do they call it on Family Guy? The tall, floppy guy, air bendy over.
I know what you're talking about, but I have not seen those episodes in so long.
It would have been better if I actually knew what I was talking about there, but you know what I'm saying. So it's like an unfocused burst of energy coming out of this thing.
Okay, because it just looks like fire visually.
It does look like fire.
Yeah, so that's where I got confused.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been better if it was like a big beam, maybe.
Mm-hmm. That was focused to a smaller beam.
Right, because it... Or even if it looked more like Kylo Ren's saber, like the way that his saber still has a saber shape to it, but it's still kind of...
fuzzy and crackly.
Yeah, it's fuzzy. It's a fuzzy laser,
Okay. I mean, that's kind of the visual effect that I got out of it until it hit the beam.
Yeah.
It did only just hit me as we were talking about this, that he essentially kind of built maybe an improvised smaller lightsaber, less powerful lightsaber out of these two things.
I didn't think of it that way either until you mentioned it.
But I guess this also proves that he is at least somewhat mechanically inclined, so he has to have learned something. And Niku even compliments him earlier. He's like, wow, your mechanic abilities have come a long way, my friend.
Mm-hmm. So, he's learning. He's getting better. It just, I don't know why he wasn't starting closer to this point rather than the bumbling idiot.
And I think possibly at the beginning of the series we talked about how he's like little boy rich kid because his dad's like a senator, and maybe he had maybe not known to him, but maybe his dad had some influence in getting him where, calling the right people and rubbing the right elbows to get him where he was, and now he's getting some on the platform experience, if you will. So kudos to Kaz for developing a little bit as a dude.
Which I'm still hoping we get something from the father. Like, for the weird mystery they shrouded the father in, and we never went back to that ever in the last, 12 episodes in between here or whatever.
Do you think it'll be like right at the end of the season?
I don't know. I don't know where
these Star Wars
broad,
series.
I don't know where this is going at all.
These Star Wars series do tend to have some sort of give you something to think about. I won't even say cliffhanger, but like a
they're open threads.
Okay. We'll put it that way.
This show in particular throws in a lot of open threads. Rebels operated similarly, but not as open as Resistance.
Okay. How much do you want to talk about this whole Taraj Key loads this phase connector on a ship, and there's stormtroopers, and Kaz sneaks on board and ends up blowing the thing up with the help of Bitey. I don't really feel it's like the big action piece, but I don't feel like we really need to get into it. I thought the ship design was pretty cool because it did kind of look like a straight up cargo ship. Like it had these shipping containers like hanging on the outside of it. Like
and that was cool.
That was pretty cool.
Big action piece. I'm just curious about this Korg situation, how he was like eating into the electrical systems. He appears to get like shocked, but then like really quickly it's just shown that he's like all about that business and goes back to eat more wires.
His name's Bitey, man. He does what he needs to do.
He just dives right in, man. It's like a bowl of spaghetti to him.
Chekhov's Korg right there.
Yeah. I'm really curious about why phase connectors are so difficult to get that stormtroopers would be going to pirates on the Colossus for them.
I wonder why they're called phase connectors when it is a device that is used to break open Earth to disconnect things.
I was wondering that as well. Like, why that name?
Like,
I was wondering if it was just the writers named it that just so it wasn't too obvious, but all the same, like there's got to be logic to it.
And it's like phases of matter, not like you got knocked on the head and you're dazed or phased out. Right. So,
but I'm
not really sure either, but that does bring me to my next question of what the fuck does Captain Phasma do? Because based on The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, I would have thought that Captain Phasma was like a captain of the stormtrooper battalions. Like she's in charge of like stormtrooper training and shit. And like that's her deal, is making sure the stormtroopers are all in order and, you know, kind of being a liaison ship between like the jacketed uniform guys and the armored uniformed guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that captain is probably the best title for her. She should probably be somewhere higher,
like a more like general,
like a general or like a master general or something. I don't really know.
And I agree, because especially with this show adding in Commander Pyre and Von Reg,
mm-hmm.
you know,
because Von Reg's a captain, isn't he? Or is he Commander Von Reg?
Recall. I think he's Commander Von Reg.
Right.
Look that up if you can. But yeah, adding Pyre, like having Von Reg was one thing, and then adding in Pyre just made me more confused. Because now I'm like, wait, what does Von Reg do and what does Pyre do? You know, is Pyre like the specific liaison to this platform, or like that only muddies it more to me. Especially because like Commander Pyre is basically just a bronze version of Phasma.
Right.
Visually speaking.
I think that Von Reg and Pyre should be the same.
Yeah,
the
that
same
should have been
character
melded into one character.
But I'm thinking that Von Reg was come up with first, and they made him red, and then I did see a little bit. There's less behind the scenes stuff about Resistance, right? But I did see a little bit of something somewhere, and I don't remember where it came from. But one of the designers or something was talking about the series, and they were like, "Yeah, we decided that we needed to make, like a gold stormtrooper, and what do you do with a gold stormtrooper? Like, they just have to be like second in command to Captain Phasma because like she's number one. So then,
right?
So
it's just muddied. Like
the
roles are
Von Reg and Pyre should be the same person.
Yeah, because especially like Von Reg has been like gone for so long that it's like even just talking about him in this episode, it took me like a good few seconds to just come up with his name in my mind because I'm like, what the fuck was his name?
Okay, this says Elric Von Reg was a human male First Order TIE fighter pilot. During the era of the New Republic, Von Reg held the military rank of Major Baron in the armed forces of the First Order. So he is Major Von Reg, or more specifically, Major Baron Von Reg.
All right. So we got Major Von Reg, Commander Pyre, Captain Phasma.
Right. And Captain Phasma seems to be like the top echelon.
Right. Which is weird.
It is weird. But yeah.
Yeah. But
Phasma also seems to be in charge of weapons reconnaissance or equipment
acquisitions.
Yeah, acquisitions.
Yeah. Like, is she like doing like fucking line item like checks on everything that they're acquiring to build what I'm assuming would be
Starkiller Base?
Starkiller Base, yeah.
Is that what she's in charge of?
Yeah, I'm confused about motivations for all of this.
And if that's what she's in charge of, why is she always in a place where she gets like knocked down and then like everybody thinks that she's dead?
Right.
Side note, do you think that she is going to come back for episode 9?
I think so. Yes.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yep. Anyways.
So Bitey saves the day. He chewed this ship to death.
Like, I just wanted, the only thing I'll say about him coming back is just like, I guess. Like,
Bitey?
I don't want to get into how that fucking possibly happened.
Well, I didn't even know how that he got to platform 23 to begin with, and you picked up on that one, so who knows? Like,
oh, right.
He's a crafty little bugger.
Yeah.
It makes...
Because he was behind with BB-8 during the fight. I think you see him a bit during BB-8's fight with Taraj.
Yeah, totally.
So you know he's behind, and then then Taraj takes the
because
thingy.
BB-8 fights him first, and then Taraj comes in.
Yeah, so like I said, when Kaz comes across the phase connector, he pops out from under the bottom of it. So,
and come to think of it, BB-8 shocks him. So maybe it's at that point he's like, "Ooh, this feels good.
This is tasty. Yeah,
yummy, yummy." So
bitey like.
I have less problem with Bitey somehow being on the outside of this escape pod than I do with the fact that it's a fish with legs that runs around on land all the time. That's like what the Gorgs are. They're fish. They are pulled from the sea. I mean, last week we had Bebo, and Bebo had these tentacle things that he used as like leg propulsion. But sea creature, like, you don't pull a sea creature out of the sea and throw it on an oil rig and it just runs around, and then it's either a pet or food, one of the two. But that's what happens. That's what happens here on Castellan. So so be it. I guess that's what they're all amphibious creatures. Whatever.
I guess so. Yeah.
If that's possible, then I'm sure that Bitey could get from the control panel somehow over to the escape pod. These escape pods are bizarre, by the way. They're not just
they're really narrow. Yeah.
Well, they're not just like fire off and like land somewhere hopefully safe with like some sort of trajectory, and like maybe you've got some afterburners or something that you can kind of try to steer. They're just like EV pods, really. You get in and they just like slowly take off, and then you can fly them to whatever destination you want to go to.
Well, that's not unprecedented though. Like they had some of these in like Clone Wars, right?
Not that I remember.
Some of them still had some.
You're right.
Basic
You're right.
controls.
You're right.
You know,
but
like
those are also not
to me.
Those are also not in atmosphere.
Still, but like if a ship was still going down in atmosphere, you'd still be able to. It's not like those controls would go dead, right?
Yeah, but they also don't fly like a separate ship. You know, like because there's 4 of them that take off from the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that for sure, like I expected Taraj Key to like go to the middle escape pod and like open up the door, and it was already gone.
And not have one there. I thought that was gonna happen too. I thought, yeah, I found the design of the escape pods weird in the way that they were like one-seaters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many of those do you have on these things?
That's what I'm saying. That they on this ship they act more like EV pods,
right?
Because you just get in, you got controls, and you just like and you take off, and you fly to wherever you need to go. Like they don't
full controls.
They don't like eject. They don't fire away from the ship. They don't. They don't do all those things that we've seen in other escape pods. And I do agree with you that there is some type of control on the multi-passenger escape pods in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Which are the same design looking that C-3PO and R2-D2 get into in A New Hope. They definitely seem to have less control, although I believe that R2 is the one that is supposed to be piloting the thing. Right. These are maybe closer in design to the escape pod that Rey uses out of the Millennium Falcon and The Last Jedi, but hers is like even smaller and doesn't necessarily seem to have 100% directional control. I don't really know. Because you just see her like fire out.
I thought, yeah, she was more in like just a casket essentially.
Right. And these are like a casket with an engine on them is kind of what it seems like. So
yeah,
new design, whatever. I was like, okay, that's a thing now. I'm not really sure where Taraj Key and the 2 stormtroopers went to after they ejected from the ship.
Yeah, we just see Taraj flying in a general direction, and we only meet up with him again to see that he's getting a call from Commander Pyre. That's all.
Which was still in the escape pod.
Yes, yeah. Like, that's the only reason we check in with him after the fact anyways. Like, he basically adds nothing else to the rest of this episode.
Yeah, and then I thought that it kind of showed their trajectory as like towards the clouds, as though they were like headed to outer space. So maybe they were going to wherever their rendezvous point was to begin with.
Yeah.
Not really sure. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end. I mean, Kaz talks to Flix and Orka, and they have their little discussion about how he's going to come in and work off his debt, which they are incredibly cheerful people.
Right.
For, based on
having lost a bunch of lost a lot of goods.
Yeah. So. Shit was given away. Their shop's a mess. The one thing that was in the back room that Kaz was not supposed to sell is gone.
Right.
They probably should have just put a lock on that door.
And I'm more curious about why they were just keeping it there anyways. Like,
well, it was sold to an actual mining guild.
Oh, that's right.
Or something.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm sure they were just waiting for payment or pickup, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But then why doesn't he be in the back room? Because if Kaz can already see that they have one, but it's already been sold.
So he had their data pad.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Which
like,
had their
why
full
is there
inventory on it?
Why is there something about that back room that, like, the way they say it, they're like, do not sell anything from that back room. Like, don't even think about don't look that direction. It's like the fucking West Wing from Beauty and the Beast, right? Like, never go there. Don't think about it. It doesn't exist.
Right, and the only thing that's over there is the rose.
Yeah. And then, like, the very next scene, it's, like, on a data pad. It's like, well, we do have a phase connector, but it's in the back room, and it's already been sold, so I can't sell it to you. Like, that's a very simple, normal thing to have happen. Like, oh, like, we have a back room where we keep the goods that have been sold. So just don't sell anything that's been back there. Right?
It is a bit of a rookie move for Kaz to be like, oh, you want this thing? Yeah, we totally have one, but you can't have it.
Right.
I know nothing about you, and you've got like this evil chuckle, and I can tell you're trying to trick me, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you some info anyway. So
I'm not gonna lie, having worked in retail, people are just fucking assholes sometimes, though, where you can tell them that, and not gonna lie, the way Taraj Key reacts to that news is basically how it goes. You know,
I always told people what you see is what you get. Like,
oh, it didn't fucking matter. No. Like, we could be out of like certain milk, which happens, you know. And people are like, well, like, can you check in the back? And I'm like, I work back there, and I'm telling you, there's no more milk. Well, you're not even gonna check.
You know when you when you open the fucking door and you can look
and you see right
into
the fridge.
How about that?
Like, what?
Nothing. I just knocked my microphone around.
But yeah, no, you open it, there's a big empty space, and the fridge is right there. We don't have another fridge hiding somewhere. Like, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. But the same thing, they'll be like, well, you have all the other milks. I'm like, yeah. Nice observation.
Well,
good.
Your cousin got here before you did and bought all the fucking milk you like, so go over to his house.
Right. So, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, or people will point like, well, what about that one? Like, I'm telling you, that's a no. Like, well, what about the one on the mannequin? Like, no, it's on the mannequin. Like,
I'll sell the one on the mannequin. I'm okay with that.
Fuck you. No. Nope. But anyways, yeah, so I'm just saying, like, that is a response that feels real enough to me, you know.
For Kaz or for Taraj Key?
For Taraj.
Yeah,
Kaz
I think it totally...
Kaz doesn't help the situation, but...
Yeah, Kaz,
I think, yeah.
Keep your mouth shut, buddy. Like, don't tell him you got one, you're just not giving it to him.
Yeah, just look at the data pad and you just go, no,
you're making it worse.
I got nothing. I got nothing for you.
Yeah.
So. But, yep. Anyways,
so
anything else you want to talk about this, or else we just move on to final thoughts?
I think we're good, man. Final thoughts, final judgment. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you got?
I'm going thumbs down with this one.
Man, how about that? So what made you give it a thumbs down?
Just that the whole thing felt so inconsequential. It's not an awful episode by any means, but it's not a good one either. Like, honestly, for most of this, I was really bored.
Okay. So as inconsequential, is that your one word review of this episode, or do you want to go with something else?
Bored. Yeah. Like, it's not a bad episode by any means. It goes fine. It just, nothing about it, you know, introducing, like, Taraj and introducing, like, this weird set of, like, circumstances. I just didn't care. And then, like, right at the end, they try and add in, like, the bigger picture stuff again. But then it didn't the bigger picture stuff, the problem with this show that kind of gets more apparent every time they try and balance it, sometimes an episode will just do its own thing and close out, and that's fine.
I totally know where you're going with this, but please continue.
But then sometimes an episode will have, like, here's the story for this episode, and then we're gonna just shoehorn in some like random shit for big stuff. So like Triple Dark did this, right? You know, and in this one especially, it just feels like the two halves don't meet up well enough. You know, like somehow the Commander Pyre has like this really good relationship with Taraj. But it's only like kind of brought up towards the end, and it's like it's just thrown at us, and we're just gonna accept that and believe it.
So would it be better if it wasn't Taraj? It was like Kragan, or another pirate, or that little dude from the dart fight. No, I guess it couldn't have been him.
I don't think the character makes a difference. It's just the writing and the way they ease into it. It's a rough landing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they're landing in at like 150 miles an hour at like 80 degrees facing downwards.
That's why that shit blew up when it hit the water.
Right. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like they're writing this big thing, and they're like, well, like he's looking after the store, but then maybe what if we made it so that Phasma needs the thing that's in that one store on the Colossus. I don't know why that's my impersonation of the writing room as a whole, but that's how I feel about the writing is clunky here.
Okay.
You know, and so like there's that aspect to it, but it's just that the rest of this episode just did not. I was not entertained by this episode.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I give this one a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
First time I watched it, I enjoyed it. It was nice. Little predictable, you know, as things go along. But as I discussed throughout the episode, what I really did like about this one is that Kaz shows some competence. And it's not always... You know, it's kind of more like an Indiana Jones competence where it's like, well, I'm going to kind of make this up, but I think that if we move in this direction, like I might get some info that I need. And he himself is doing things not for himself, but for lack of a better term, you know, like the betterment of all, right?
Right.
He's doing it for the cause. And even though he's got himself into working this store so that he could get these parts for like the betterment of his crew. Like he sees this opportunity with the shady dude and he's like, you know, this guy's shady. I equate shadiness with people that associate with the First Order. I'm going to follow my gut and I'm going to try to get some info. And he's 100% right. Like he's finally doing some shit that I would have expected him to have been doing 7, 8, 9 episodes ago. So, you know, I can't argue that that this is not necessarily, you know, you said it's clunkily written. You know, can't argue with that. But, you know, I judge episodes a little differently than you do.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, so nonetheless, I was still bored throughout the episode. I think if we didn't get that last scene outside the acquisition shop, maybe like I would have felt maybe a little bit better than that. Like you drop in some of the stuff throughout the episode, but maybe instead of addressing it right at the end of this episode and trying to like be so explicit about it, you know, like yeah, stormtroopers are involved, but maybe if stormtroopers weren't involved and we show Taraj flying off and like he just loses it, but we don't see stormtroopers, we don't see Pyre, you know, we still get the scene with Flix and Orka like freaking out, but then maybe like 3 episodes later or something like that, you know, we loop back, we see Pyre talking to Taraj, you know. I
can totally agree with you.
It's just like it muddies this episode up right at the end. When
Taraj Key like calls Commander Pyre and he's like, sorry, I didn't get the thing, and Pyre's like, oh, shame on you. I'm gonna tell Captain Phasma, and she's gonna be pissed. Like that, snip that out, and it's not necessary.
Fill it with anything. Yeah.
Don't even fill it with anything. Just like snip it out. Fill it with Kaz doing some actual spy work that he's been doing. And here's what you could do is you clip out that 12.5 to 20 seconds or whatever it is, and then while Bitey is doing his Bitey thing on the electrical work, have Kaz figure something out that contributes to the demise of the ship instead of just
leaving it to an animal going nuts.
Like, he's kind of got the idea because he baits Bitey with his fingers.
Right.
And gets Bitey to jump at his hand and then pulls his hand back, and Bitey like smashes into the wires and like he's like a flying piranha thing that bites on him, like he's biting as he's flying. But then he keeps at it, so make that be a distraction. Have Kaz actually do something else.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say have him do something because he's done a whole bunch, right? Have him do something else to actually contribute to the success of this impromptu mission that he put himself on.
Mm-hmm.
And, eliminate the call home to mom.
Right. So, yeah, and then all the same too, like your other point, and I think it's fine. The appreciation that Kaz has gotten to this point, I think it's just bad that we like it so much when this should have been
the standard all along.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing that's still kind of bothering me. Like the fact that I'm happy that Kaz has gotten to this point is just, it's just like, I think back and I'm like, well, that's just bad though still, it's like watching a movie and then it's like, I don't know. I like the series overall, but it's like watching Justice League, and it's fine. It's not the worst movie ever made. It's not great, but then like at the end of the movie, I remember sitting there. I'm like, well, it's not Suicide Squad. Like, is that a good review or is that a bad review? Like, I don't, like even for me, I'm like, I don't know what that fucking means now. Like
that's probably a bad review.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's like that. It's like I'm not gonna say I like Justice League just because it's not Suicide Squad, right? So that's just.
But it's not Suicide Squad, so like
it's watchable, I guess. Like,
yeah,
yeah. Like
there's a comparison there that is something. I got nothing. I can't.
So like I understand your appreciation that Kaz is kind of coming into his own, and I like that too, but I still need a lot more.
It just gives me a little bit of renewed vigor in this series, right? So
yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
And yeah, you get that, and I will admit that I don't have that. Like there's nothing yet that has given me that renewed vigor. I like that phrase. Yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure.
Cool.
So, anyways, that said,
do you want
anything
to throw
else to
out some social media? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say the next week's episode, based on information that I have, is called the Doza Dilemma.
Yes, that is what I got as well. So
that's what I got there before. Yeah.
Coming up next week, we'll take care of that. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us and let us know if you have some renewed vigor for this series, you can tell Lorenzo he's wrong over on Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast. You can hit me up on Twitter. Me, Kevin Hord here, coming at you live from Twitter every day, hopefully. At Not the Nerds.
Not the Nerds. I'm just gonna finish it up for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep on going.
So Twitter at Not the Nerds, Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast, Gmail. You can email us at notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. As always, we like to give shout outs to Kevin Warren, who put together our cover art. He is on Twitter at They Call Me KDub. Also, we like to give a thanks to Lindsay, who wrote put together the jingle at the beginning and end. strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. Anywhere else that I'm missing there?
Not that I can think of.
Anyways, you can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and we put up the audio on YouTube as well. So anywhere you listen to us, give us a like, review, subscribe, all that goodness.
Yeah, if you're listening at work, just pull us up on the computer, type in youtube.com, look us up, do that jazz.
Plenty of places to find us. Yep.
Give us a subscribe, comments there,
absolutely.
Whatnot.
But until next time, I've been Lorenzo Phan.
Kevin Hord here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.